What's up? Welcome in. It's Foxborough Rush. She's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. T, how we doing today,
I'm doing great, buddy. Can't wait to talk football with you.
You're just happy because your boy Caleb is free.
I know,
From Shane
but you know
Waldren.
what? It should have been Eberflus with him. That should have been a package deal, a combo platter. Don't just fire the OC. The head coach should go, too.
You know, they've never fired a head coach in the middle of the season. For them to hire him or keep him from the jump was just malpractice.
Facts.
The Bears stink. You have a number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
And, yeah, he has certain years left on his deal. I think he has actually, including this season, 3 seasons left. But you could have gotten, and it is my North Star, who I said the Patriots should have got as their offensive coordinator following the Matt Patricia year.
That's right.
Should have been Dave Canales.
You did say that.
The Bears could have gotten Dave Canales from offensive coordinator of the Buccaneers to be the head coach of the Bears. Look at what Dave Canales did, resurrecting Geno Smith's career, because he was a QB coach when Shane Waldren was the play caller.
Yes.
Got Geno Smith paid, got Baker Mayfield paid, and he's having Andy Dalton and Bryce Young do enough to play winning football as a quarterback.
I don't have a problem with that, George. I'll raise you a Jim Harbaugh because they could have had him too, and they blew that.
Yeah.
They can't even get – you didn't fire Eberflus, and you didn't hire the right coach to begin with. You guys are morons out in Chicago.
We got a fun one. We'll talk more about Shane Waldren, what that can mean for the Patriots. We'll talk drafts with our boy Keagan Stiefel. We're talking wide receivers, folks. And Travis, I know you're excited for that one.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And we'll talk the outlook of the future for the Patriots this season if they play themselves out of a top pick. They were number 1 overall going into Sunday. Mm-hmm. They decided to win. Also, it was tough to lose that game because the Bears are that bad. They're picking 7th overall, still in the Kelvin Banks spot. Let's bring our boy in. He's Keagan Stiefel of Nesson.com. Loves talking draft, loves talking wide receivers. Keegs, how we doing today, my boy?
Good. No beanie. I've learned my lesson.
Great hair day, too.
Thank you. I did it extra special for you
Keegan,
guys.
good job, man.
Appreciate it.
I'm not going to apologize because that's tough love, and that's what you get from us.
5 minutes on Keegs, just going at him.
I don't want to toot my own horn, Keegan. You could just say yes or no. Do I act as a mentor towards you? Am I that mentor role for you?
Yeah.
I pull you aside and say, hey, do this.
George has some great advice. I'll give him that. Has some great advice.
Whether you like it or not, I give you advice.
He does.
And not an on-camera guy for the most part. I'm a written word kind of guy. George, he'll give me a little advice. Do your hair. Sit up straight. Talking to the microphone.
Speak with your
Don't
chest.
say 4-letter cuss words on the podcast.
I'll tell you to play the game a little bit too.
Yeah, play the game.
I'll give you
shake a hand, kiss a baby, everyone.
Exactly.
That's right.
And I'll also tell you never wear an effing beanie ever again with a black hoodie. It was a black beanie, black hoodie.
It was a gray hoodie. I want to get ahead of it. It was a gray hoodie.
You look great today, Keeks.
You look good.
Appreciate that, guys.
Growth. Let's talk wide receivers. First, though, after our last video, we appreciate everyone that watched. We appreciate everyone that commented.
Yep.
There are 2 people I want to shout out. My boy, Tuffy Burton, 1258. How did he name several wide receivers and not talk about McMillan? Dude is the best wide receiver in the draft as a true 6'5" game breaker. That's our biggest need, is a wide receiver room. We have several guys who can play in the slot and play in the Z position. And also Drink Croshow. When it came to wide receivers, how do you guys not even mention Tetairoa McMillan, also T-Mac, a.k.a. Tet McMillan? Guess what? Before I brought those comments up, boys, guess what Keegan texted me? I'm talking McMillan. So we're doing that today.
Also, we have 5 months until the draft. Plenty of time to talk plenty of different players.
What are you, Dame Lillard?
Also,
slow it down.
Yeah.
You're not even wearing a watch.
It's also why none of us spoke about Tate McMillan. He's going to be off the board before the Patriots pick.
Maybe.
Now, free agency can change a lot.
Maybe.
Free agency could change a lot. Maybe some trades, because I don't like the tackles of free agency.
He may be on the board. You don't know.
6'5", 215 pounds, came back to the U of A, which was very exciting for them to bring back, of course, the quarterback they have, and also at the same side with Noah Fafita and Tate McMillan. Keegan, what do you like about the 6'5", 215-pound receiver out of Arizona?
Yeah, you just said it. That's a big-ass dude right there.
It is.
I'd say size 3 times.
215. Far and away the most physically imposing receiver in this class, and I think far and away the best wide receiver in this class.
Yeah.
Good long speed. He eats up space, obviously, with those huge legs. Big hands as well. Eats up the ball. Great body control, which is important. That's what you want in a possession receiver, which is obviously what he is. He's not running underneath routes like a slot guy. It's a possession guy. You want him on the outside for the most part. Agility's better than what one might think, because you look at a big guy like that. We saw it in New England a few years ago. N'Keal Harry. It was ugly.
Gross.
But, Tet McMillan, he can move a little bit. And, you can rely on him to do more than just the boundary stuff. If you want to throw him in the slot, maybe, in the red zone and get him open alongside a tight end, stuff like that. So a lot of different things you can do with him. He can do a lot just on his own with that big body and those hands. But there are a couple cons. The NFL has some big guys too. I don't know if you guys have heard, but
yes.
National Football League, the best of the best. So the size advantage that he has is going to be diminished at the next level. And there are cornerbacks who don't give a crap how big you are.
That's
right.
Stephon Gilmore isn't worried about 6'5" Ted McMillan because he'll bully you.
That's right.
So that's one of the things that you really struggle with, whether or not that's going to carry over to the next level. And then for me, the 3-cone. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, at the combine if he runs it at the combine. But with big receivers, you see it a lot. Other than DK Metcalf, you can pretty much pinpoint whether or not a big body receiver is going to make it in the NFL by their 3-cone. So you got to wait and see on that. You can't really pencil him in as the number 1 wide receiver just yet. But I think he is well on his way to being that guy.
He, at 6'5", 215, you said big hands. He has arrogant hands. And his vacuum hands.
Yeah.
With his massive catch radius, his leaping ability, his great timing at a jump ball, 6'5", 215 with that frame, and he plays to that size. He doesn't play smaller. He plays like he's 6'5". I say arrogant hands because every single ball that comes his way, he clamps it and grabs it and sucks it in out of the air. He doesn't dog any balls to come back to, so he doesn't get undercut on any of his routes, and I think that's a huge strength. He's a smooth mover with the ball in his hands after the catch, too.
Absolutely.
He catches it, he turns up, he gets you yak, which is really important, and he can be a target in all 3 levels. He really is that deep threat. What I would like to see more from him is have a full route tree or a deeper route tree, because what we've seen, and I don't like the excuse of it's what they do at Arizona because he has a good quarterback in Noah Fafita that can get him the ball, but it's a lot of go balls and it's hitches. I want more slants. I want more digs, and he needs to be better at his release at the line of scrimmage because, as you said, Keegan, at that big frame, you have a bigger zone for guys to get your hands on you.
Yep.
How do you fight it off? The way he fills out the frame, he reminds me of Mike Evans coming out of Texas A&M. His pro comp, though, it's a Drake London. The same way you see Drake London on jump balls. He can be really good. He will be a day 1 starter. I think it'll take him a season to break through, though. And that's my thing with Tate McMillan. But he's going to be great wherever he goes because just what he does in the red zone. Watch him against Travis Hunter in 2023, not even this season. Now, Travis Hunter won that game, but there was a red zone target. McMillan had a touchdown in the red zone, and Travis Hunter didn't have a shot. And Travis Hunter is one of the best. He could be a number 1 overall pick out of corner, which has never been done because he's that good. McMillan, for him to have success around him, I think it says a lot about him.
Yeah, listen, I'm at the point where I just want a game breaker, a game changer. I don't know if this kid is it. I understand the size, luxury, if you will, but you have to be, in general, I think, a good receiving core to get a big physical wide receiver to complement what you already have. You ain't got a damn thing here. So although I understand the size being beneficial, I'd much rather I'll take a chance on a smaller guy if he's a game breaker. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Now, in years to come, you could say, okay, our wide receiving core is actually good now, and we can add some size to this. But if he's not a game changer or a game breaker or has that home run hitting ability, I ain't interested. I don't give a damn who he is or what Tuffy 1876 said. Like, I need somebody in here who can make some plays and break a game open. If this kid can do it, then the size is a benefit. But I'm not picking him just because of the size. I need game-changing ability first and foremost.
I will say, to Travis's point, you think about the wide receivers you put around these big body guys, and the 2 that come to mind, Drake London, like George said, and a Christian Watson in Green Bay. Who are around those two guys?
Underneath.
Smaller, underneath receivers, the Ray McLeods of the world.
The Darnell Moonies. The slashers.
What do the Patriots have? They've got those guys. They got Pop Douglas, and I would put him in the Ray McLeod.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's not a real number 2. That's a slot receiver who you have to scheme him open.
Yep.
But behind that, I mean, Kendrick Bourne is a guy who, despite what we've seen in the last few weeks, he can be a guy who can play next to those big body receivers and bring together a group. Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, we'll see about guys like that. But I do think they've got the bones of a core that can welcome in a Tet McMillan and find success early.
It would be what do they do at the tackle spot?
Yeah.
And that's what it all comes down to. As our boy Dripsaw Killa commented, no tackle worth taking in the top 10, but if you were taken at the end of the first round, if there isn't a good receiver to be acquired by free agency or trade, this selection is no-brainer. It has to be McMillan. I see the argument. The way I look at this wide receiver draft, though, and I'm not like, the Patriots have so many needs. I don't want value. I want you to get guys that you love, and I want you to get the guy you want. When you scout him, and it's going to be a day one starter.
Yeah.
If Brian Thomas Jr. was in this draft, he's wide receiver 1. He was taken 23rd in last year's draft.
Yeah.
That's how this draft is sizing up right now. It's not the same wide receiver or tackle draft like we saw last season. Who's someone else you got for us, Keegs?
Another wide receiver. We're talking wideout today.
Yeah.
Emeka Egbuka, who is a guy who has just posted every single year, 4 straight years at Ohio State. He's going to end up being Ohio State's all-time leading receiver.
And that's saying something.
Think about the guys that have come through Ohio State, from Chris Carter to Jeremiah Smith next in line. Emeka Egbuka is the best of the best in terms of longevity and being able to post year after year. So that's one thing, being able to post at the collegiate level. But he also has some traits. You know, functionally, his play strength is unbelievable. I would say it's better than a guy like Tet McMillan, despite the size difference. 6'1", 205. Doesn't jump off the page, but he's a strong-ass receiver, and he moves really well with the ball in his hands. He likes to run through people, not around them. Best blocking wide receiver in the country, and I say that not in the draft, in the country.
You don't play at Ohio State if you don't block.
Exactly. That's Ohio State for, coming from a guy who watches every single Ohio State game. You get angry with how much they run the ball, but that's their identity. They run the ball, and if you want to play, like George said, you got to be able to block. So does that really well. Short area quickness through the roof. These are all the things you look for, right? You're really excited about a guy like that. But the one thing is, he's a slot receiver. Mm-hmm. And what do the Patriots have?
Pop Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, KJ Osborne won't be back.
I'm not interested.
Redundant.
I mean, this is what I'm saying. And a lot of these Ohio State wide receivers in recent years, hell, Keeks, outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., who's a freak, okay? He's from planet Krypton. But outside of him, like Smith and Jigba, all these guys, they're slot guys. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from them, but like,
they're good slot guys.
They're good. They're very good slot guys.
Slot guys.
But I'm telling you, like, I need who can take the top off. Who can I throw? Here's a name, right? Look at Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs. This is a great example of this.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers, too, to a certain extent, of this is a smaller dude. He's clearly not some every down wide receiver you could throw to every time. I don't want to call him a gadget dude. That feels kind of disrespectful. But, like, they are game breakers.
Yeah.
And they do. There are games. They take over games. That's what I'm looking for. Again, I'm not interested. I don't want another slot guy. I don't care that he's from Ohio State. He's also had some injury issues, too. You got to watch out for.
Yeah. To me, the game breaker is Tate McMillan. Until I know what Travis Hunter is going to be, it's Tate McMillan. Luther Burden is a slot guy.
Yeah.
He's
a game breaker, though.
He's like a Deebo Samuel, not as thick.
Yeah.
He's like a Jamar Chase after the catch.
Yep.
Not a game breaker, though. That's a slot guy.
He's a game breaker because you can move him around, George.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
He's consistent.
He's versatile. You can move him around.
Yep.
You got to have a creative play caller. Okay. Yeah. I mean, can we table that conversation for another time? But if you have a creative play caller that can move Burden around, he's on my list. I'm a big fan of his. He's not even having a great season.
Well, their quarterback situation.
Their quarterback situation is terrible.
He loves run blocking. He buys in. He kicks guys' asses.
And I'll tell you what, with him having a terrible quarterback and not putting up great numbers, I think it's more realistic that he could get to the Patriots.
No.
It's more realistic. He's going to drop.
But so Tate McMillan is Drake London. Luther Burden is Randall Cobb. And that's a really big pick to use on a Randall Cobb.
I think he's better than Randall Cobb.
I think he's a Randall Cobb. I think that's his usage. His speed isn't that elite where he gets that separation down the field. That's my thing. This is a late round. This is a draft prospect. I want to shout out my boy Eric Uper Patriots because he commented, what about Jalen Royals? 6 foot, 205. With Utah State.
Yep.
Now, he went to Georgia Military Academy. If you are a JUCO product, you have my attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there's no dog like a dog that comes out of JUCO football. Late bloomer, wasn't great with his grades, and that's why he ended up at GMI, but now he's at Utah State. Track speed, thick frame. That's a 4.3 40 guy, just 6 foot, 205. Mm-hmm. Good in and out breaking ability, strong hands, can leap and get up for it. He plays bigger than he is. So Christian Watson, who's 6'4", 6'5", he plays like he's 6'1".
Yeah.
Jalen Royal, who's 6 foot, he plays like he's 6'3", which I love.
Mm-hmm.
He had 7 50-plus yard touchdown catches in 2023. He's great at tracking deep balls. He's good in the open field. Struggles against press and physical play at the line of scrimmage. Route tree needs to grow. He is a project. And he could have drops over the middle of the field. Dontavian Wicks. Day 3 pick, raw athlete, 5th, 6th round guy with a deep threat being his main game, but something you have to work on. He's primarily like an outside X. He's not great for the Patriots. You know who an offense that needs a wide receiver too, but hey, they have their one, New York Giants. You'd have a Malik Neighbors, you have Wan'Dale Robinson, a scat guy over the middle, then you'll have a Jalen Royals who can work. Again, man, if the Patriots just did better in past drafts at least and had a dude, Jalen Royals in the 5th round. Now, we can see what they do in the 2nd if they get a guy like a Trey Harris. We've said it. They need a double dip in weapons. They need a triple dip in weapons. You get a Trey Harris and a Jalen Royals, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it how you're filling out this room. They would still need an elite wide receiver 1, but those are big bodies. Yeah. So I like Burden, but that's where I go. Keeks, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that's kind of the overall problem with the Patriots in this draft, where you need a tackle, right? You need a number 1 wide receiver. There aren't many of those guys.
No.
And especially where you'll be picking, there might not be any worthy of the number 1, 2, 3, 4 pick. If you fall a little bit into the middle of the 1st round, you can justify taking, the guys we talked about last week, a Will Campbell or Kelvin Banks. But really looking at this draft, you're thinking they need to find a superstar early. That's what you need with one of those premium picks. And then you can draft one of these guys that we've talked about today, maybe at the top of the 2nd round if any of them slip.
Maybe.
And there's a guy, I think you're going to talk about him, Trav.
Well,
that's worth that top pick.
Because I agree with you in theory, right? But if you're willing to use that top pick, let's call it top 5, wherever it is, on receiver, Travis Hunter is the answer to the question. Okay?
Garrett Wilson.
He is literally the answer to the question.
Yeah.
My only concern with him, well, actually, there's several. Number 1, we got to have a conversation about usage rate. Because if I'm drafting you and I'm the Patriots, I have a need for both. I could play you at corner, but I need you. I need you
at wide receiver.
At wide receiver.
Yeah.
So we got to have a combo. I think this kid mentally believes he could do exactly what he's doing now in Colorado in the NFL, and maybe he can. But I don't know if any NFL team's going to be interested in that. Let's just be honest about it. Pick a lane, kid.
Every team's going to have a plan.
And every team has a plan, and it seems to me, you both, please, I defer, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that most teams are evaluating him as the best corner in this draft. Okay, but what does the kid want? Because if I'm going to use a top 5 pick on him as a wide receiver, he's got to want to do that. And then maybe I have some cornerback packages from him, not the other way around, where he's a corner and you get some wide receiver packages. Hell no. If he comes to New England, he's my wide receiver. The other concern I have is Dion. I mean, Dion's already telling you, my son ain't going to X, Y, and Z. Travis Hunter ain't going to X, Y, Z. Okay, so now this could be some noise that I don't need to deal with. Not to go all Belichick on you, but the last thing I want to do is spend a top 5 pick on a kid where Dion's loud ass is saying, he ain't going there. Tom Brady ain't walking through that door. I don't need it. I don't want it. I won't draft him. So I need a couple of those things cleared up. What does this kid want to do in the league in terms of position?
Yeah.
Because if it's both, I might be out on that too. I'm going to tell him, listen, I need you a wide receiver. Do you have a problem with that? And playing some corner? If he's like, no, I want to do both, I'm out. If I got to deal with Dion, I'm jumping on the phone with Prime immediately. I'm thinking about drafting this kid. Do we have a problem? If Prime gives me spicy mouth, I'm out, okay? If both of those boxes can be checked, Travis Hunter's like, bro, I'll play wherever you want. And Dion's like, yeah, I don't care. Done. I'm taking him.
What's great too about him is that he was asked like straight up on College Game Day, would he like to play more? He's like, all I know is playing both. His Pop Warner days, he just played both sides. You're like, but how do you practice? He's like, whatever the ones are, that's what I'm with. We usually have first team offense against second team defense, first team defense, second, like how it goes. He's like, that's what I rep with. It's insane to me.
He finds the end zone too, George.
He does.
You know,
I am not saying it lightly. He is Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
I've given you a Randall Cobb, a Dontavian Wicks, a Drake London, and a Garrett Wilson.
What do you want?
Those last two, well, Garrett Wilson and Drake London, those guys are in a different tier.
Yeah, they
Garrett
are.
Wilson above. It's all about what do you want, what type of guy you want. But
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson's a difference maker, and he's a winner on the outside. He's a game breaker, Trav.
Yeah, he is.
If Travis Hunter's down to play ball,
He's got to be down.
and what did we just see between the Ravens and the Bengals? A Bengals with no defense,
Jamar
a
Chase.
terrible offensive line,
Yeah.
really good, great, top 3 quarterback in the league,
Yep.
and a wide receiver that kept him in the game and broke that game.
Yeah, he did, man. Gosh, Jamar Chase is ridiculous.
And you're watching that and you see, okay, I see it. What's tough is that you wish a Malik Neighbors or a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a BTJ was in this draft because it makes it a no-brainer. I don't know what Travis Hunter wants.
That's fair.
To mock him and have him as a corner, that's asinine. If you're taking him with a premier pick, he's a wide receiver too.
I agree.
So I hear what you're saying.
He can do it all.
He can
I'm
do
not
both.
saying he can't, but I would want, if I'm drafting
need
him
a
to the
receiver.
Patriots, I need you to focus on receiver the most. That's all.
Yeah.
I know, like, we're going to bury this conversation over the next few months, just talking about Travis Hunter, because they will be in the conversation to draft him. The one thing I'll say is, if you have a top 5 pick, you got to take a swing. Right? There's no sure thing with a top 5 pick. So if I'm taking a swing, I'm taking a swing on a guy who can play both sides of the ball and he can do it damn well.
Amen.
I like that.
I don't want to put him in any sort of bucket because what we've seen from him as a prospect is unlike anything we've ever seen
that's
before.
right.
People will put the Charles Woodson thing on him. Charles Woodson was playing 15 snaps
He
of
was a
offense
corner.
a game.
He had like
He was a
30
cornerback.
catches. He had like 30 catches.
Right.
He was a
Travis
corner.
Hunter is an athlete. When they draft him, it'll say the New England Patriots select Travis Hunter, athlete,
Yeah.
University of Colorado.
Facts.
That's what I believe. So if you're going to take him with the top 5
Facts.
pick, you're going to let him, with all the power that you have,
Yes.
you're going to put him in a position to succeed at both positions,
You're
not just
preaching.
one.
You're preaching. And by the way, he may return kicks because I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
You need every damn
Why not,
thing.
right?
Here. You need everything. This is why I bring up Prime, because New England's a perfect place for Travis Hunter to go because they need all of the skill sets he possesses.
Yeah.
There are going to be teams in this league that don't draft the kid because they're like, we just want him to play corner. We just want him whatever it is. New England needs it all.
Right.
But I just don't want to deal with it doesn't seem like Travis Hunter is a diva to me, but his coach absolutely is. And I just don't want to deal with it.
It'd be interesting, like the teams picking top 3. Jaguars, Giants, Titans. One of those 3 doesn't have a need at quarterback.
Right.
But if you're the Jags, I mean, you can trade back and you can still get Travis Hunter. That's a power spot to be in. The Patriots, you know, if they're at 6 right now, that's where they're slotted after the Saints pulled off a shocker of a win.
Yeah.
The Patriots are picking 6th. You're missing out on Tate. You're in that.
He's
you
gonna be
miss
top
Tate
5.
McMillan.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
miss Travis Hunter.
Yep.
But you're right there for a Kelvin Banks, and a Kelvin Banks is a big
Yep.
need.
Yep.
I want them to finish top 3 because I want them to get more assets on the back end.
Me too.
We'll see how it goes. All right, Keegs, my man, appreciate you joining the show. Next time I'll have you on, I'll bring up my Trey Harris argument out of Ole Miss. 6'3", 210. He's a wide receiver too. He's not a 1, but I still love it. And if you love this convo, make sure to head over to our YouTube page and check out the latest episode and clips of Foxborough Rush. Wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Like, subscribe, download, rate, review. We talked about round 1 targets. You can catch that YouTube video. Now we're talking wide receivers. And as you can tell, as the season goes on, we'll switch it up. And again, shout out to all the comments I read. If you're calling us dumb, if you're giving us something to talk about, like my boy Eric the Youper for the Patriots, I loved you bringing up Jalen Royals because that's a guy I watch and I like. Keep the comments coming. We'll bring them into this convo and we'll bring you guys in the chat. That's Foxborough Rush. Good convo with our boy Keagan. Make sure you head to the YouTube page to get that full one. All right. So the convo is now going.
Yep.
We were all excited.
Yep.
And we loved it. Talked number 1 overall pick, all the options they can have.
Oh, yeah.
They need it. They need more draft picks. They need a tackle. Hey, they need options.
Yeah.
Which they have a 1 overall. Saints won.
Oh.
Patriots won.
Oh,
Patriots are now picking 6th. So the current draft order, I'll go top 10 quick.
Okay.
Jaguars, Giants, Tennessee. Browns, Raiders, Patriots.
Okay.
Saints, Jets, Panthers at 9. Dolphins at 10. And as we see, the variance and the volatility week to week can change.
yeah.
But Drake Maye was basically asked, are the Patriots down to play themselves out of a good draft pick after winning 2 of their last 3? Drake Maye on the Greg Hill show said, for me, as the season continued to progress, it was that we are a team that no one wants to play at the end of the season. It was about getting better. And I knew there would be bumps along the road. I think everyone knew that. At least inside the building, you guys, us, Probably didn't. Look, man, this is one of the worst rosters in the NFL. No one's going to tell you any other way. Bumps in the road, yeah. We didn't think the bumps would be this bad and this ugly.
Yeah.
Obviously, the head coach wants to win more. If Drake Maye probably had his way, he was starting Drake Maye week 1. And he wants to win more. What's best for this team, though, because this roster is so bad, is a higher draft pick. And higher than 6th, because there are 2 quarterbacks named. And what Patriots fans have to keep in mind, when you're watching the college football playoff, you need to be the biggest Miami fan. You need Cam Ward, and you also need to be a Colorado fan for them to get in. But you need Cam Ward to shine, maybe pull off 1 or 2 dazzling wins, make noise in the college football playoff. He's an NFL quarterback, and continue to increase his stock as a number 1 or 2 overall pick. And you're hoping the Pats are picking 1 or 2. Because that would give them the flexibility to trade back and get more first-round picks. Look, picks are more important than wins. I'm sorry to tell you guys. What Travis and I liked, though, against that Bears win, you were a smart, competent football team, and you showed that.
That's right.
2 things can be true.
Mm-hmm.
It's been bad. At least it looked good.
Yeah, listen, I want him to tank. I'm not telling you anything different.
I want him to tank.
I want him to have the number 1 pick. Because with that number 1 pick, man, I mean, you control all the Infinity Stones, and you could trade back to your heart desires. Because all those teams you named, with the exception of who? Jacksonville, they all need quarterbacks.
Giants, Titans, Browns,
they
Raiders,
all need them.
Need quarterbacks.
Even the Saints, they got to be tired of Carr. So, and then Rodgers with the Jets. I mean, like, it's a mess. All these teams need quarterbacks.
Carolina at 9 needs a quarterback.
Carolina at 9 needs a quarterback.
Idiots.
So I would prefer they tank out and they get the first pick. But it is so obvious, and you brought this up, that we noticed in the Bears game, just a pure competent coaching staff against a moron coaching staff, and you saw the difference there. So I think they're gonna win some more games here, and I think they'll probably end up picking where they are now, would be my guess, George. They're gonna be right outside of the top 10. Which, hey, even though I said tank, I'm saying that because you could trade back and gain more assets. But if you're picking 6th, 7th in this draft, it's okay. There's no generational talents in this draft. I like Shedeur Sanders a lot.
I love him.
He's a pain in the arse. Okay? There's some you gotta kind of deal with him. I'm not saying he's a head case or he's gonna be a trouble or anything like that, but you gotta kind of massage that ego a bit to deal with him. Okay? So you have him, and then you got his dad, all right, hovering over your program. Is that what you want? I don't know a lot of NFL teams that are going to necessarily want that. He is a very good player. I think he's the best quarterback in this, and I think he will be the number 1 pick. But he ain't generational, I don't think.
No.
I don't think any of these players are. I like Cam Ward just as much as you do. I don't think he's generational. We talked about all these receivers. Where's Megatron? How's Nowhere sound? Okay? Where's Larry Fitzgerald? It ain't walking through that door.
Yeah.
There are good linemen in this draft that you can get, as you've illustrated.
Yeah.
6, 7, 5, somewhere in that range. Cool. Take them. Don't overthink it. Where I need the Patriots to be better, just like you didn't overthink taking Drake Maye at 3 last season, don't overthink taking the best tackle available wherever the hell you pick, okay? Where you must step up that we haven't seen. Can you give me a complete draft class? Now, yes, it's easier if you're top 3 and you trade back and you acquire more assets, right? I mean, just the math on that, you have a better chance of hitting on one of them because you have more picks.
Yeah.
I get that. But if you don't, and you're sitting at 6 or 7, can you draft the rest of the way out?
Yep.
Can you get a decent wide receiver somewhere later in this draft? I'm good with a running back. I think you need some running back depth here. Can you get me some offensive linemen who can play? Can you get listen, you're not going to get some top edge rusher. I get it. But can you get some competent guys to go on your defensive line and help you against the run?
Yeah.
And help give you a pass rush? It's not so much this, unless you're picking one, George, or let's say top 3, it's not so much that part of it to me as it is what do you do with the entirety of your draft class? Because I believe on the field, this team's playing themselves out of a top 5 pick. I do.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win a couple more games, George.
I think they lose to the Rams. Rams are coming off. That's a tough loss
I would
against the
agree with
Dolphins.
that.
But they were dealing with bringing 2 starting offensive linemen back in as the Dolphins pass rush got healthy.
Right.
Down in Miami, look, the Dolphins can score. And as we saw what they did against the Rams, they can expose an offensive line that's in a flux.
Sure.
Like let's not
That's fair.
Also like mix anything up here on these wins.
Yeah.
The Jets are really bad. And they beat the Jets by basically being the team that sucked less.
I'm proud of you, man. You've
the
come
Bears
around.
are see? Look.
I'm proud of you.
2
This
bottles
is
of
growth.
wine. I owe you 2 bottles of wine.
This is growth.
The Bears, that offense with that talent should not be this terrible. Guess what? They are the worst or not one of the worst in the league in every significant offensive category.
Yes.
That's the truth with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
This is a Rams team with Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. They're going to put up more than 140 total yards of offense. Miami and Tua at home, same. The Colts, all right. That you can mess around and steal that one.
It's winnable.
Kyler, with this defense and this run game, with your bad run defense, the Bills twice, the Chargers, now that's at home. This is a tough, run-heavy Chargers team. So 4 wins, I'm interested to see where that would put them because this is a 4-win team at most still.
Well.
And they've shown week by week, not season-long progression.
Yeah.
It still puts them in a spot. Again, I think the order should go tackle,
Yep.
wide receiver.
Yep.
They need guys on the edge. They need a corner, best available. But they need to walk away with, I think, 2 offensive linemen,
Yes.
2 receivers, and another weapon, maybe being a running back. And that's not good.
I
with
love
the
that
offensive
draft,
linemen, they just picked 2 offensive linemen. Now, if a Caden Wallace surprises them, all right.
Yeah.
What are you going to do at center? David Andrews, low-key, getting up there in age and dealing with a lot of injuries. Like, you need a center. Maybe does Cole Strange become your center? Okay, that's salvaging that bust of a pick at 29 overall where you took him.
Sure.
There's a lot of volatility what the Patriots are going to do. And again, we're only 10 weeks in the season. We have a long way to go. But I see everything you're saying as well.
Yeah, you also have to factor in free agency, too.
Yeah.
I mean, this team has so much money, George.
Yep.
So how will they attack that?
Yep.
They went sort of big game hunting last offseason and didn't come up with anything.
Yep.
You go big game hunting and you come out with KJ Osborne. How's you didn't hunt well go? How's that sound? But I think in this offseason, they go big game hunting again.
Yeah.
Or maybe now they say, okay, listen, draft, we're going to go one side of the ball specific. Maybe it's offensive linemen, running backs, some wide receivers. And then with Drake Maye being the head coach here, assuming that's still the case, we say this guy knows defense. Let's go out and spend a ton of money for veteran defensive players who could come in, pick up the system quickly. He doesn't have to babysit them. And we can pour more resources and attention into Drake Maye and growing this offense. Drake Maye has a defense filled with veteran players around the young pieces we already have.
Yeah.
And now you're cooking with something. So that sort of plays into this too. What you don't get in the draft, you must get in free agency and vice versa.
Hey, you want to join the conversation as we've shown? Make sure to email us on the chat at nesson.com. Leave a voicemail, 617-790. Excuse me, let me slow down. 617-790-0928. Or email us thechat@nesson.com. If you're enjoying it, we appreciate it. Leave us a review wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe on the Nesson YouTube page. And we got new episodes dropping every day of the week as well. So make sure to catch them all there as well. Trav, you hear the good news, my man?
What's that?
Congrats to your boy, Caleb Williams. He is free of Shane Waldren.
Yeah.
So the Bears have fired Shane Waldren. Thomas Brown will now be their offensive play caller. And as I said, this Bears defense.
The Bears.
24th in points per game.
Yep.
30th in yards per game. 30th in passing yards per game.
Goodness gracious.
This Patriots offense. 31st in points per game.
Lord.
32nd in yards per game.
Oof.
32nd in passing yards per game.
Ew.
Now, with Jacoby Brissett, they were averaging 250 yards of offense and 120 passing yards. With Drake Maye, they're averaging 291 yards per game and 194 passing yards per game.
There we
nothing
go.
substantial, nothing crazy, but you see that big uptick. So the numbers are skewed there. Now, Shane Waldren was fired because, as we saw against the Patriots, the Bears totaled 3 points, 142 total yards, went 1 for 14 on third down, had 69 passing yards. Let's think about the worst football game I've seen this year. That's that loss to Miami. Well, the Patriots had 10 points, 299 total yards, 148 passing, and 151 rushing.
That was a terrible game.
That's how bad that Bears execution was. And guess who has a more talented offensive roster? The Chicago Bears.
No question.
This was coming for Shane Waldren. But as we look over the course of the season, the average numbers, Shane Waldren getting the go and saying, walk, brother, you're a failure. Is Alex Van Pelt worth keeping for another season for this Patriots team?
God, boy, that's so much to unpack there. First of all, let me go back. Caleb's not all the way free, okay? Matt Eberflus should have been leaving that building with Shane Waldren. That's my opinion. And I think Chicago will figure that out quickly. I think they just needed a sacrificial lamb for now, and I think Eberflus will get it when the season's over. As far as Van Pelt, it's difficult because this is coming off of, I think, his best called game so far this season. Against the Bears. And I still don't think it was great. I hear the stats there and the numbers. It's easy to look at that and say, get rid of the guy. He's a bum, right? But I'm actually more disgusted. I am disgusted with the lack of creativity. And I've been screaming it all season. The lack of creativity with some of these play calls. That's more disgusting to me than the actual numbers and the stats. Because I think when you look at the stats, it doesn't tell you the full story when you just look, where they're last at this. Well, no Shaq Sherlock. The offensive line's horrendous.
Yeah. You
do have a rookie quarterback, even though he's playing well. Like, he is a rook. You have no wide receivers to speak of. There's more to it than just the numbers. When you watch the games and this vanilla BS that they're running, that's what kills me. Now, when we say the best play call game of the season from Alex Van Pelt against the Bears, I remember you pointing this out to me during the game of how they have simplified some things for Drake Maye in terms of reads.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good improvement.
I'll give him credit for that. That's why I said it's difficult right now to sit up here and bang on Alex Van Pelt when he's coming off of a much better called game. But I am not seeing enough RPOs from Drake Maye. I am not seeing enough designed plays where Drake Maye's on the move purposefully, intentionally. I'm seeing a lot of plays break down because of protection, and Drake Maye tucks it and runs and takes off. Cool. But even on those, he's taking unnecessary hits. Are we talking to this kid about protecting himself? Are we working on that? Like, let's work. Let's see that. And I think in a lot of ways you can protect Drake Maye schematically by some of these calls you're making, having him on the run to begin with. I'm watching this kid run around back there like a chicken with his head cut off.
Yeah.
Buy time for guys to get open, keeping his eyes downfield, and then making throws. So imagine if we just have design plays where this guy's on a boot to begin with, and he's throwing on the run, and he's clearly good at that. I don't see enough design there. Even in the run game, it's not enough. It's just like give it to Ramondre and hope he doesn't hit a brick wall, which he does pretty much every time.
Unless they're playing the Bears.
Like, come on, where's the misdirection? Where are the end arounds? Where are the – it's a lack of creativity, and I don't love that. I think that's a big – it's a stale offense with bad players.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you don't have an embarrassment of riches as far as talent goes, your play calling needs to be more creative. You're not getting that from Alex Van Pelt. So you have bad players, and you have vanilla, plain play calling, stale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not good enough. I think he will be gone at the end of the season. And you know what else, George? I'll put a name on it. I think Lincoln Riley's going to be available. My question is, does Lincoln Riley want to stay in college? Because he's getting fired, sure as the day is long. Yeah. USC's been a mess. They got sanctions now. I think Lincoln Riley, if he wants to go to the NFL, you're not going to get a head coaching job right now. But you're going to come in hot Shaq, and you will be a top offensive coordinator in this league. As far as being wanted, I'm saying. You go out, you get a Lincoln Riley. Before you laugh, Cliff Kingsbury in D.C.,
Yeah.
is on a path to be NFL head coach again in his case because of the job he's done, and he's running a college offense. If I'm Lincoln Riley or if I'm the Patriots, I'm getting on the phone the second he gets fired, and I'm saying, if you want to come to the NFL, we have an offensive coordinator position available to you yesterday, and we'll pay you handsomely.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't work with Drake Maye, maybe you have a head coach in waiting.
The tough with Lincoln Riley is that it's a complete change.
I know.
In your approach, your just overall offensive scheme.
It is.
Mentality.
Could be a change for the better, George.
But that's another season, another offseason. You have to hit a reset.
Yeah.
So Alex Van Pelt, that's a West Coast offense. Mm-hmm. So let's look at the West Coast offenses. And to me, the signs point to me. So, like, first off, let's address, is he worth keeping for another season? The one thing I give Alex Van Pelt over Shane Waldren is the progress we've seen from Drake Maye.
Sure.
Where this was an offense before Drake took over, scoring 16 points per game. It's been up to 20 their last 3 games. Throwing 140 yards per game, like I said.
Yep.
Last 2 games, 185. And keep in mind, when I gave those numbers prior to Patriots before and comparing them to the Bears, that's also looping in a half Drake Maye game because he was knocked out against the Jets early. Mm-hmm. When you bring in a Lincoln Riley, you have to change everything. You have to start from square one again. And this is offensive linemen because what kind of blocking schemes does he want? Mm-hmm. This is wide receivers. If you keep it to a West Coast offense, you can at least keep something simple.
Sure.
You keep the terminology the same. You keep it consistent for your would be a second-year quarterback by then because this will be, if AVP's gone, his 4th different play caller in 4 football seasons.
Gee.
That's tough for a kid that started 26 games in college.
Yeah.
And is just a few starts into his NFL career.
Right.
And if for people think Waldren got fired, AVP should too because how similar. I don't want Ben McAdoo calling this offense the rest of the way.
No.
I don't want TC McCartney, Bob Bicknell, Scott Peters, Taylor
Hell
Embry,
no.
Tyler Hughes doing this. Because as you can see, I'm a sicko. I didn't have to do research today on this topic. This was months ago, folks. That is current possible play callers on the roster.
Such a GM.
And there's future offensive coordinators below that. AVP's doing a fine job. You keep him the rest of the way, unless you really feel like it gives you a leg up. The names that do come to mind.
Give me the names.
Wes Phillips, Vikings offensive coordinator. Well, he's an OC, so I'd make a lateral move. He's not calling plays in Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell is, but that's a West Coast offense.
Yeah.
You get a Wes Phillips in your building who has been the Vikings OC since 2022.
Sure. Was
the Rams pass game coordinator in 2021. 2019 and 2020, their tight ends coach. Mm-hmm. What is he doing with the Rams? Learning from Sean McVay. Mm-hmm. That is a highly successful offensive mind where guess what? Kevin O'Connell came from.
That's where he learned.
I love a Wes Phillips.
Yep.
And if not him, there's a Brian Angelico, who's a Vikings passing game coordinator and tight ends coach who's just below him.
Okay.
The issue with a Wes Phillips and a Brian Angelico, there's no play calling experience on the resume. And this is where it just perplexes me again, the route that the Patriots chose to go. Mm-hmm. Where you went with a first-time play caller. You're going to do that again? You went through the growing pains this season. You're going to do that again? I don't love that. Brian Angelico, Vikings pass game coordinator since 22. He was a Panthers tight end coach for 2 seasons. 2019, Commanders tight end coach learning from Kevin O'Connell. Mm-hmm. These are the names I see. If you want to go deep cut, Tanner Engstrand with the Lions, passing game coordinator. He's a 5th season in Detroit, 2nd as passing game coordinator. Prior to that, he was a tight ends coach. Prior to that, he was an offensive analyst learning from Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. At least the guys he's been around, a Ben Johnson, a Jim Harbaugh. At least the guys Wes Phillips have been around, and Brian Angelico, and a Kevin O'Connell, a Sean McVay. Those are brains you want to pick from that would help moving forward. This goes back to before this season began. The same thing I say to the Bears, it's the same thing I say to the Patriots. Why did you go with a guy already in your building when you were at such a pivotal point in your franchise? Where if you went with an offensive mind, because also Wes Phillips, Tanner Engstrand, Brian Angelico, Alex Van Pelt, if they do a good job, they're gone.
Yeah, they are.
This is why the Patriots fumbled when they chose their head coach. Mm-hmm. Dave Canales was right there. A Ben Johnson, if you wanted to give him $15 million a year, which to me is worth it, he was there. A Bobby Slowick was there. Mm-hmm. It'll be the same thing. You bring in this offensive guy, you better be ready to promote him to head coach. And if you're Robert Kraft, you better be ready to make a really hard decision for a guy that's like a son to you that was your head coach of the Patriots 5 years ago.
That's what I'm saying.
As you continue to make up those lies.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with
when
that.
you go, there has to be some type of continuity. I get the Lincoln Riley call, but
Yeah.
there has to be continuity somewhere because you're resetting your roster and you're resetting Drake Maye's lingo, his mindset, his reads, the vocabulary of the offense, and that's a lot for a kid. He's good, but that's a lot in 4 years. It's 4 different voices, lingo schemes.
It is. The good thing, though, some of the pros here, Lincoln Riley is a quarterback whisperer. We know that. Why he's struggling as a head coach is because his defenses are historically bad.
Yeah.
They are awful.
Yep.
Okay? It's clear. He can't figure out defense. I don't think he cares to. All right? But he's a quarterback whisperer. The results are there for themselves.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, I hear you on Drake Maye and changing everything again. And look, man, I actually think Lincoln's system could be easier for the kid to learn because it is a college system. And he's not that far removed from that.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be fine with that. And the other thing too, why I bring up Kingsbury, when you look at a lot of these college minds that come into the league as offensive coordinators or head coaches, a lot of times their offenses are very free flowing, very college-like, and it works.
That's fine.
These
That's a
days.
game. Yeah.
These days.
Yeah, it's a
Back
game.
in the day, it never worked.
No, but
right?
it's the
Remember
NFL
the college coaches would come into the NFL, it would never work. You get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
But now it does work. It simplifies. Tom Brady was talking about this. How it's so easy to play quarterback now. They simplify things. So don't be so sure that another voice, another system to learn. Lincoln Riley in particular. This is unique to him. I'll give you that. But Lincoln Riley in particular, if you bring him in to be an offensive coordinator because he's interested in being a head coach in the league, I just think New England's a perfect fit. I think he can work with Drake Maye quickly. Drake Maye can pick that up. We'll have success here as Drake Maye grows. And then possibly you may have a head coach in waiting. Possibly.
Yeah. What gets me is I don't hate the Lincoln Riley call. Why I don't think it'll happen is because if Alex Van Pelt's gone, nothing has shown me that Elliot Wolf or Gerard Mayo will be gone.
That's fair.
And guess what?
Yeah.
You're bringing in a chef, but the guy picking the groceries are going to pick the groceries he
That's
wants
right. That's
for a
right.
West Coast offense.
That's fair.
Then you're doing a round peg into a square hole with Lincoln Riley.
That's right.
At least with the
I
Wes
agree with
Phillips.
that.
Yeah, Brian Angelico.
Yep.
There's Ben McDaniels with the Texans, but just to be frank, I don't want a McDaniels in New England. I also wonder if he would do that because of the pettiness of Josh and Bill.
Yeah.
Look, Dan Pitcher, Bengals quarterback coach, now they're OC, but not calling plays because that's Zach Taylor.
Yep.
That's there. And you know what I've said in the past, man? You know who could be out there?
Who?
Kevin Stefanski.
We both like him.
And
I
guess
like
what?
him as a head coach, by the way.
Your head coach needs an actual he needs an assistant with actual good coaching experience as a head coach, not Ben McAdoo.
Yeah.
And that's a thing
Facts.
with all that. Quick break. Want to make sure you guys check out the latest episode of Hold My Banner. You like the Celtics, you love the NBA, check out Hold My Banner wherever you get your podcasts because you can find everything. Celtics, NBA, it's culture on Nesson's basketball podcast, Hold My Banner, hosted by Travis Thomas and Ante Campbell. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else you can find your podcast. Quick one to end with, Trav.
Yep.
I like the Lincoln Riley call.
No, you don't.
No, because it has the whispers of a Cliff Kingsbury to it.
It does.
Like, it makes sense.
It does.
The question is, it's not just is Alex Van Pelt back next season, is Elliot Wolf. This was a guy that was said, we're not giving you the title until after the draft.
Right.
And he got the GM, which is the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah.
It's a lot on how serious does Robert Kraft want to be? How serious does Jonathan Kraft want to be? Stop being cheap, start playing for a good team, start paying for a good team, and invest in your front office, invest in your roster, stop effing around, and invest in your coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if that's the answer, what you just said, because I think you're preaching, my brother, but if that's the answer, then you fire the whole staff early, like sooner than later, Black Friday, like get rid of them, or Black Monday, I think it's called, get rid of them, and then, listen, you throw the bag at Ben Johnson in Detroit. He's already put his price out there. That's why he's not a head coach now. He priced himself out last season. All the Lions have done is perform even better.
Yeah.
So guess what? Translation, he's going to get the money. So it's just a matter of if Bob Kraft is writing the check or someone else. But if what you just said is true, and you got to invest. You got to take it serious. You're like a son to me. This didn't work. Okay. Then you clean house. You go get that kid in Detroit, and you tell him pick your staff. You write him the check, and you let him cook.
Yeah.
You let him cook.
I wouldn't hate picking from that Detroit Lions front office either.
Well, he'll take the Tanner kid you like. He'll be the offensive coordinator.
I'm saying for the front office. Yeah, you bring in Ben Johnson, you bring in Tanner Engstrand.
Yeah.
Those are your top two guys on offense.
Right.
You need someone as a front office leader, though. Because that's my thing. Like, if you're going Ben Johnson, you better go right. And Elliot Wolf, there's a lot of pressure there, man. So we'll see. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Shout out to Keagan Stiefel stopping by the show. Shout out Jalen Royals. Shout out everyone watching on YouTube, leaving comments. We appreciate it a ton. Keep leaving them. And as you can see, you guys will join the conversation here on Foxborough Rush. He's Double T. I'm GB. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.